Hey everyone, Illusion here. Today I'll be bringing you guys my updated Bavsagra Deck Profile post DBT04. So about a month ago, DBT04 just came out and we finally got new support cards for this deck, including new arms for Bavsagra and even a new, just in general, Sealed Blaze Dragons and other support cards for the deck, including Trick Moon. So without further ado, let's get right into the deck profile. Alright, as per usual, we're going to start off with the Ride line. So for the first, it's going to be Sealed Blaze Dragon Arnisa. So this is your typical generic standard starter. You have to run this starter specifically only because the next card I'm going to be showing you guys, if you don't run the starter, it's not going to work. And I'll explain that in just a second. So next up for the grade 1, it's going to be Sealed Blaze Dragon Namakar. So Namakar's skill reads, when this unit is placed on the Vanguard circle by riding from Sealed Blaze Dragon Arnisa, which is the starter, you can Soul Blast 1, search your deck for up to 1 Sealed Blaze Sword Prithvi or Sealed Blaze Shield Swayambhu, reveal it and put it to your hand and shuffle your deck. So you need to have this starter in order to activate her skill. And then also its second skill can kind of be relevant. Its second skill reads on auto on rear guard. When it attacks, this unit gets 2k till the end of the battle. You really don't see that skill used a lot just because this is the only copy for the deck. However, I mean, if it does come up and you're able to bring it back with Bavsagra skill, it can be, a 10k beater, which, it's really nice. Next up for the grade 2, we have Sealed Blaze Dragon Halibadra. The Halibadra skill reads that when this unit is placed on Vanguard circle by riding from Sealed Blaze Dragon Namakar, which is grade 1, choose an arms card from your drop zone and put it to your hand. So essentially, this is basically kind of like a free ride. So when you're on the grade 1, here, let me 1 second. So when you're on grade 1 and let's say you have an arms card, you can discard that arms card that you searched using the grade 1 skill, ride Halibadra, and you're able to add that arms card back to your hand. So essentially, it's just a free ride. And then second skill, I mean, it doesn't really come up anymore just because this is the only copy of Halibadra we're running in the deck. However, its skill reads that when it's on rear guard, when it attacks and your Vanguard is armed, this unit gets 5k until the end of battle. We don't have to worry about this skill too much because there's no way we can bring it out from the soul or even from the drop zone when we soul blast it out. So, I mean, you really don't have to worry about that skill a lot. Alright, and now for the main boss unit in the deck, it's going to be Sealed Blaze Maiden Bavsagra. So its skill reads on Vanguard once per turn. When this unit is armed, you can Soul Blast 1, choose a grade 1 or less card from your drop zone, and call it to the rearguard circle. This really works in tandem with the new Trickstar unit that comes out, and I will be going over Trickstar's effect later in the video. However, it's just a really good skill. You get the soul charge, and then you also bring a card back from the drop zone, which is honestly just, I think, is really cool. And its second skill is an act on Vanguard once per turn. If this unit is armed with 2 or more cards, you can Soul Blast 2, retire all your opponents from rear guards, and this unit gains +1 critical until the end of the turn. So just being able to get that crit pressure in on your first grade 3 turn when you have 2 arms already on her, it's just insanely. It's insanely good pressure for the deck, and honestly, I love her artwork. It's really cool, and just in general, this deck is just really cool in general. All right, now moving on to the main deck, we are also, because this is a Bavsagra deck and just Persona rides, we have to run 3 copies of the Persona ride, the Bavsagra, in the deck. Let me center a little bit. I mean, nothing really much to say here. Persona rides are, really helpful in times, and, when you Persona ride for Bavsagra, it just makes the deck even more stronger. So you have to max out on all copies of Bavsagra. Alright, getting on to the other grade 3s, we have 4 copies of Sealed Blaze Dragon Ardala. So this is one of the main cards you're going to be searching for or drawing for during your mulligan. And I mean, it's a really good card too. So on its skill reads, when this unit is placed on rear guard and your Vanguard, it has 1 arm, you can counter less 1, choose an arms card from either your hand or your drop, and arm it to one of your Vanguards. So this allows you to play 2 arms during your first grade 3 turn. And even so, like if you don't have an extra arms in your hand, you can always just grab it from the drop zone, which is really helpful because I mean, you know, sometimes, you know, it will come up during the game. And then second skill reads on continuous and rearguard circle. During your turn, if your Vanguard has 2 or more arms, this unit gets 5k power. So it's going to be able to hit for magic numbers, you know, being 18. They're going to guard with either, you know, like 10k guard, either the drop triggers, or they're going to fork over, you know, 15k shield, which, I mean, you know, it puts a lot of pressure for the deck. You want to maximize this card at 4 just because you need to see it either in your opening hand or you need to see it during your either grade 1 turns or your grade 2 turns. And you know, it's just a really good card in general. All right, so that's it for actually the grade 3s. We're now moving on to the grade 2 units. We are running actually 4 copies of Twin Bullet of Duststorm Travis. So the reason why we're running Travis is because his skill actually works in tandem. It works well with Bavsagra. So its skill reads on what's an act on rearguard once per turn. If your opponent's rearguard was retired this turn, you can counterblast 1, soul charge 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, retire it, and then this unit gets 10k till the end of the turn. So what really helps the deck is just because like there's not a lot of options we can use to soul charge, because there are some arms cards in our deck that, you know, requires a soul blast. However, I mean, this card in general just helps make up for it, because you're really going to be needing to use the soul every turn just to get rid of your opponent's front row and to get that extra crit. And you know, Travis, you know, does wonders for this deck. Also, because you're not really counterblasting a lot with this deck, Travis, you know, is just a good card to be using the counterblast for. Plus, you know, if you know you retire and you use Travis' skill, it becomes a 20k beater, which is, you know, really good for this deck. Alright, lastly, for the grade 2s, we are actually running a personal choice. We're running 3 copies of Seal Blaze Dragon Shishana, or Sikshana, whatever her name is. So the only reason why I'm running this card in this deck is because I'm not running draws in this deck, and you need to be going through your deck just to look for your key pieces. And there are even times where like you have like an extra sword or even like an extra spear in your hand, and you don't want to use it, and you don't even have a PG to discard it with. So what you can do is just call this card onto the field. You can discard an arm from your hand to draw a card from your deck, and then this unit gets 5k power until the end of turn. So like the 5k power, you know, it's nice. You know, it becomes a 15k beer, which is, you know, really good for any deck. And however, you really only use this card just to cycle through your deck, just because you're going to be soul trading a lot and you're not getting those cards back. So why not just, you know, go through your deck even more and you know gain the chance to get, you know, maybe like a good trigger in your hand, or even like a PG, or even like, you know, one of your key pieces that you need. I don't run this at 4 just because, you know, it doesn't come up. It's not like one of the most important cards of the deck. However, I think, you know, being able to see it and, you know, discard a card from your hand, draw, I mean, I feel like that's, you know, really important for this deck. And I mean, you can run draws in this deck, you can run different options. This is just my only like flex spot for the deck, and I mean, you can just, you know, go about, you know, running whatever cards you want. But I think 3 is a good number. All right, moving on to the grade 1s. We're running the only grade 1 for the deck. It's going to be our 4 perfect guards. So I mean, nothing really much to say about this deck. You really need perfect guards, you know, just to survive, you know, big, you know, push turn with from your opponent. And you know, its second skill, you know, it can come up during games. You know, not being able to discard a card, just to be a perfect guard and attack. I mean, other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it. You know, it's just perfect guard. All right, and lastly, for the grade 0s, we're running one of the most important cards of the deck. It's going to be 4 copies of Trick Moon. So I really love this card. I also made jokes that, you know, he's basically the emo version of Trickstar, and I mean, you can see why. However, its effects are really good for the deck, and they help helps allows this deck to be able to attack for really high numbers. So its first skill reads that when this unit is placed on your back row center rear circle from the drop zone, you can counter charge 1, which is really nice because, you know, you have to pay a counter blast from some of your arms, or even some of like your Travis's or your Dorlas, whatever. And this card allows you, you know, to be able to counter charge and reuse that damage again. However, its second skill is really cool. It's known as the Dress Boost, and it's on Railroad Circle. When this unit boosts, that boosted unit gets 10,000 power to the end of the battle for each card. Each card your Sealed Blaze Maiden Bavsagra is armed with. So if you're going to be you're always going to be double armed with Bavsagra, and so when this unit boosts, Trick Moon is able to give 20,000 power to your unit that's boosting. So basically this becomes a 25k boost, which is really good for the deck. It helps you push for really high numbers, and you pair that with triggers, it even goes even higher. So you need to max out on Trick Moon 100%. I honestly don't see any other alternative for this card. Alright, so that's it for the main units for the deck. We're going to now go on to the orders. So the first order is going to be the Sealed Blaze Spear. And I'm sorry for pronouncing this wrong. It is Arita or something like that. I have no idea. However, this is the spear of the deck. This came out in the set 4 for Overdress, and it's honestly just one of the best arms the deck could ever ask for. So its skill is right D arms for Sealed Blaze Dragon Bavsagra, and you have to pay Counterblast 1 just to play it. However, it's not a big deal because you're going to be using Trick Moon to countercharge from it. And then its other skill reads that when this unit is armed with when this unit is armed, you get to draw a card and you can play additional arms for the turn. So I mean, that skill just in general, it really helps with the deck, just because you're able to play 2 arms per turn. And honestly, I mean, there's nothing really much to say about that. It's a good card. It helps you play 2 arms for the turn, and I mean, its second skill is actually really cool too. So when it continues during your turn, when this unit is armed, this unit gets 10,000 power. So basically, it allows Bavsagra to swing for 2,300. You pair that with Bavsagra's crit skill, it's going to be swinging for 2,300 for a 2 crit. And then you also, if you pair that up with Trick Moon, it's going to be swinging up really higher. And so, like, my point is that you need to maximize this card just the way you can use it on the skill to not only draw but also play additional arms for the turn. Honestly, if you don't play for this card, I have no idea what you're doing. I highly recommend you play 4. Alright, going over the other arms, we were actually running 3 copies of the Sealed Blaze Sword Prithi. Again, I apologize for missaying these names. I'm basically dyslexic. I don't know. So again, it's a right D arms with Bavsagra. You have to pay a Soul Blast for the cost, but it doesn't matter because you're going to be soul charging it anyway with Bavsagra's skill. And then its skill reads that when this unit armed with this card attacks, that unit gets 10,000 power until the end of that battle. And then at the end of this battle, if your opponent's damage zone has 4 or less cards in it, you're able to counterblast 2, put this card that's armed with Bavsagra into the drop zone, and deal your opponent 1 damage. So it's really good. Let's say your opponent's at 4 damage and like they PG your Vanguard attack, you can pay the counterblast for it, and then you're able to deal your opponent a damage, putting them to 5, which adds even more pressure to them. You don't really want to maximize this card a lot, just because of the fact that you have the sword you can use, and also the counterblast cost is a little heavy because you also have we're running Travis and also a Darla in the deck. Sorry, and honestly, just like either that, it's either going to be ditch fodder, or you can use it to put your opponent to 5 damage. Other than that, I don't see, you can run this card anymore. You can actually take one of these cards out and put the gun in the deck. I don't personally, just because the gun is not really like the best arms card, just because it has that same, cost heavy skill. But I mean, other than that, I feel like 3 is just fine. I mean, if you don't need it, you can always just ditch it either for like PGs, or you can ditch it for the other grade 2 Sealed Blaze Dragon. Alright, and lastly, for the arms card, we are running the one and only Sealed Blaze Shield Swayonbu. So this is the only lefty arms we have, so that means we're always going to be using this card armed with Bavsagra. It's always going to be on Bavsagra. There's no way we're going to be replacing it at all. And for good reason too. So it's a lefty arms, that means you have to put it on the left side of Bavsagra. And then the pay cost is a counterblast, which is fine, because you always have Trick Moon to countercharge from it. And then skill reads on auto on Vanguard once per turn. When this unit is armed with the when this unit armed with this card is attacked, that armed card or that armed unit gets 10,000 power until the end of that battle. So basically, you can choose whenever you are getting attacked, by your opponent's Vanguard or even opponent's rear guard, you can choose when to get that 10k power, and it's really helpful too because sometimes you won't be able to use triggers for your damage checks because sometimes you won't even get them. This just helps out with the deck, in terms of defense. And I mean, also you just run the one copy because you don't run any other left DD arms. And another thing too, it's a search target for your grade 1. So you're either going to be searching this card out with the grade 1 skill, or you're going to be searching out the sword. Most of the time you're going to be searching out the shield, just because you either are going to have the sword in hand or you're going to have the spear in hand. Other than that, it's just a really good card in general. Alright, moving on to triggers, we are running, of course, the Dragon Empire Over trigger. Really helpful for the deck. I don't see any other trigger. I mean, you can run the generic Gradient Elemental trigger. I just feel like this is a lot better just because you're able to restand your Vanguard if you reveal it during your drive check. And other than that, I mean, 100,000 power, you can give that to one of your units. And then when you do the second drive check, you get a crit. You're able to put a crit on the other unit, give 10k power to another unit, and just in general, it's really good for the deck just because, it just helps restand your Vanguard. All right, so continue on with the triggers. We are actually running a total of we're actually running a total of 8 crits. So one of these crits is actually a placeholder for the effect crit, just because I only have one playset for the effect crit. However, you can replace whatever you want. However, just seeing 8 crits in your deck, it helps put pressure during your drive checks. And with the effect crit, being able to move into the soul, give 2k to one of your rear guards. I mean, it's okay. However, you usually want to use the effect crit for the soul charge. So just one of these 4 triggers is just a placeholder for my deck for the effect crits. Other than that, just 8 crits, helps win games. You can't really run anymore just because of the new list. Other than that, just 8 crits. All right, next up for triggers, we are actually running 3 of the front triggers. So like I said before, I'm not running draws just because draws are really fine, they go through your deck a lot, but I mean, just the fact that you are soul charging with Travis and you're also soul charging with Bavsagra, you go through this deck so much just through soul charging. And so I thought to myself, I don't really want to deck out, so I'd rather just play fronts. And also the shield value can come up too. Even other than that, fronts, gives your whole front row 10k power. Nothing really special about that. And then last but not least, we are running for the heal triggers. Again, nothing really much to be said about this. It's heals. You need them to survive games, last the games a little longer. And I mean, you can't really go wrong with this artwork. I mean, come on, little dinosaur. Alrighty, so that is actually the entire deck profile, guys. Just a few things about this deck. I really love Bavsagra, and honestly, the whole arms mechanic with that, I feel like this is a huge, great addition to Vanguard. And honestly, I want to say thank you to Bushiroad for giving us the ability to use this deck. So I'm just gonna wrap this video really quick. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.